I would first like to say thank you to Psykologvirke, which is our clinic. 30 psychologists are working there now, and we have also some research projects at Psykologvirke, an MDMA for therapists project, MDMA for fibromyalgia, and a couples therapy project. Fundamentals, or living Freud's dream. A few years ago, we reached the front page with a review article of MDMA-assisted therapy. And this process is quite intriguing because most people can voluntarily go in and out of this regress state at their own free will. You will get to see that in my own therapy when I show the clips the third time. As you remember this, my whole body just released so much pain and so much. You can see the incredible amount of shivering there. And so just briefly, what is it? MDMA-assisted therapy. I guess you all know a little bit about it. It's not MDMA therapy, it's MDMA-assisted psychotherapy. So this is the treatment room here in Moss. My colleagues and me simulating a session. It's a gentle invitation to do inner work. It's not like you're forced into something. Sometimes, pictures of repressed material can pop up, and it's when you've seen it, it's hard to get it unseen. But generally, that's the exceptions, and normally it's like you can see something, but you can kind of choose to take it, save the problem for another day, or you can see that, oh, I have to chew this one in smaller bites, or I have to do some other work before. As with the classic psychedelics, if you try to remove yourself from a problem, it just increases and it gets even more in your face, and you can't escape it. Or then you have to go into bad trip paranoia, and so to externalize everything and put it outside of yourself. But you can run, but you can't hide. But debate here in Norway about is MDMA hyped or not. Group level, we don't have data to support that MDMA-assisted therapy is better than, for example, prolonged exposure for PTSD. We don't know how they compare because there are no direct comparisons yet. This is not a competition. This is a gigantic cooperation. Like, we are really awestruck sometimes by the incredible intelligence that arises in the patient and guides the healing process. I will talk much more about that, and then maybe it also helps to provide a facilitative neurobiological climate primed for trust and new learning. So if you combine these two, maybe you have a different game in town. So I'll come back to how MDMA can be seen as a molecule that primes us for trust and new learning. To be a helper is very complex, and it's very, very challenging. And of course, all helpers once needed help themselves. We're really here because of our own pain, our family wounding, our intergenerational trauma that hit us, all the energies that we came to navigate early on, at least most of us. And it's a lifelong journey of learning. And I think what we can learn from MDMA-assisted therapy is very important. It's always about postponing the rational mind from because thoughts and understanding, it's controlling. But then at a certain point, the gestalts come up in a way. So pictures or answers, or it's not like you need to try to understand it. If you wait long enough, it will become evident. It's just pictures, it's just instant knowledge. And when that's there, then it's really a helpful thing to contextualize it all. And that can also deepen, in a way, the pain, or it can, so it's not just, so I think it's about the timing and the quality to not be ahead of the medicine. And you could see how long we needed to have discipline and not going into trying to get anything to happen. And that would, of course, interfere with my compulsory pattern and move into that in a way. So I think, All right. And then, of course, the question is, but will this last, the effects? But the idea is to use the drug to open up a state of consciousness, and then there you can learn. So to me, it really resembles when I do ISTDP. We have this post-breakthrough of feeling state where, the body is very relaxed, and the patient is kind of immersed in his or her own inner process, and insights pop up, pictures, gestalts comes up, explaining a lot of things in their life that they didn't think about, and it comes kind of spontaneously, and the room is filled with like this healing atmosphere. And in MDMA-assisted therapy, in many of the sessions, this is the state. Like for hours, this state is open. So imagine you can do a lot of work, a lot of learning can happen there. A small anecdote, and again, I want to say that I talk very positively about the MDMA-assisted therapy, and of course I see great potential here. But I want to say that even though there's a great potential, and release it, and that's another thing. And to claim superiority for treating certain conditions, that's another ball game. And we just need to figure out how we can best, use this tool for who, when, how, why, and so forth. So one of the questions is, well, if MDMA-assisted therapy is more, resource demanding than, for example, cognitive processing therapy, then and the results isn't obviously better on the group level when you measure PTSD symptoms on the CAPS score, at least. Why should we explore it? And of course, we need different modalities for different people that can reach different people at different levels of explanations or causes, and also different times in their healing process. But there is also this dropout rate that is quite high in the PTSD studies and clinical practice. And this is a case of a person that described his or her life as being on top of a bridge. Is that the word? The bridge of a ship, where you steer the ship, and the ship is anchored somehow, so you can't navigate, and the waves are there, and it's windy and it's rainy, so it's just like you can't see, you can't hear, you can't navigate, you're stuck. And that was his or her life, And then she got the MDMA, and it was like getting into one of these, this scuba diving gear stuff, dykkerklokke in Norwegian. And then suddenly everything became still, and she could see clearly. And she was kind of coming down into the ocean slowly, looking into, symbolized by the anchor, the chain, the anchor chain. She just moved there, and she could see different pictures from her life. Nothing new, nothing like really repressed, like lost memories or something, just looking at different aspects that she knew about, but she could contextualize it quite differently. And she could just see the roots of her problems being a sensitive child, being shamed of her needs for being comforted, and the rest of her life had been really just expressing that issue indirectly through overcompensating, becoming more secure or more, than she actually was. And this was something that also kept people at a distance, and to reintegrate her own vulnerability and stop compensating for it, getting rid of her shame, was kind of the solution. The shame was, behind the wheel of the ship, and it was impossible to steer it as she wanted. And these kind of exposure experiences to experiences that she didn't know that she needed exposure against. I mean, this happens also in other PTSD treatments. EMDR, for example, it's an organic process, and things comes that you didn't plan for, but still it's a very sacred, very calm, very undramatic process of moving into yourself. It's not like being on the edge, and the therapist needs to, structure and push, and it's a lot of anxiety. And sometimes it can be a little bit like that, but can it be that, having a modality that makes for such profound, but also very different healing experiences, might that not only lead to fewer dropouts, as we see the numbers are clear, 8 or 9% dropout in the MDMA studies compared to 20 to 30 in many other studies. I mean, and could it be that more people are dropping into treatment? I think many people know that they don't believe in therapy. They don't believe that I would be able to profit, so they don't do it. But with such a tool, might it tempt more people to get into it? Sigmund Freud discussed therapy and the possibilities and the limitations. And he said, but now we are talking about just a talking cure. The future might teach us to exercise a direct influence by means of a particular chemical substance on the amounts of energy and their distribution in the mental apparatus. It may be that there are other still undreamed of possibilities of therapy. May MDMA be it? Before we move into history, which is, by the way, the history of a drug that was called Adam and then was renamed ecstasy, I would like to take a few questions, connect a little bit, and then we take a 10-minute break.